Having a world-class goalkeeper is a huge benefit for any team. When a team is struggling, when its defense has to deal with one attack after another, it's the goalkeeper who can save the day. But what makes the difference between a top goalkeeper and an ordinary one, though talented? The answer is consistency. In recent years, we've seen a lot of keepers who surprised us with both miraculous saves and silly mistakes. Those who haven't been at their best for quite some time. And this is what this video by Goal24 is going to be about. Top 10 goalkeepers who seem to have lost their former quality. But before we start, we'd like to test your football knowledge. Which one of these goalkeepers once had to play as a striker in an important game that could have secured his team a place in the UEFA Cup? Edwin van der Sar, David Seaman, David James, Peter Schmeichel. That game, in case you wonder, ended in a draw, and the manager later admitted that his decision to make the most out of his goalkeeper's heart in attack was a wrong one. Feel free to leave your guesses in the comments. And now, get ready for watching. Aurelio Gomes. After only 2 seasons at Cruzeiro, Aurelio Gomes, aged 23 at that time, left Brazil for Europe as he was signed by the Dutch side PSV Eindhoven. He soon became a first-choice goalkeeper due to his quality and consistency. His incredible reflexes allowed him to make unbelievable saves on the team's road to the Eredivisie title, the Cup, and the Champions League semi-final. All in all, there were 4 seasons at PSV for Gomes and 4 out of 4 possible Eredivisie trophies, as the Brazilian also managed to keep a clean sheet in half of his 181 appearances for the club. Though it was not a top league, of course, it was still an incredible result for Aurelio Gomes. In 2008, Gomes was finally noticed by a bigger club and moved to Tottenham, managed by Harry Redknapp. Though the Spurs were not competing for any trophies, it was still a big step forward. But in the end, his Premier League spell turned out to be a disaster. Aurelio Gomes was mostly known for his outrageous bloopers, mindless dribbling that led to conceding a goal, poor save attempts when the ball bounced off his hands towards an opponent or straight into the net, and many other unforced mistakes. And not to mention all the near corner goals or those that went in under Aurelio's arm. Gomes looked more like a boy from the street who had to play in goal. Harry Redknapp did his best to shield his goalkeeper from the criticism, but his patience went thin before long. Gomes was benched and then sold to Watford in 2014, where he made 100 appearances. The Brazilian's performance wasn't as embarrassing as it was at Tottenham, but still nowhere near the Premier League level. As for now, Aurelio is still playing football at the age of 42. After he had taken a pause, he got back in business and signed for his current club, the Brazilian side Democrata. Jasper Cillessen. Jasper Cillessen was the first-choice keeper for the Netherlands in the 2014 World Cup, as Louis van Gaal picked him ahead of 2 more experienced ones, Tim Krul and Martin Stekelenburg. Jasper's solid performance allowed the Netherlands to reach the World Cup semi-finals. However, the Ajax keeper had to wait until 2016 before he moved to a bigger club, that was Barcelona. The Blaugrana offered Cillessen a backup keeper role, and the Dutchman agreed. The first-choice goalkeeper, Marc-André ter Stegen, was pretty much untouchable for Barca, so Jasper only made 32 appearances in 3 years, 14 of which were clean sheets. Another Spanish club, Valencia, was still interested in Cillessen, so in summer 2019, the Dutchman came to Mestalla. Jasper was pretty consistent for his new team at first, as he was making eye-catching saves, while Valencia made it into the Champions League knockout stage for the first time since 2012. It was all going well until he suffered an injury at the beginning of the following season, which was a game-changer. When Cillessen recovered, he was nowhere near as good as he used to be, and that injury was followed by many others. As a result, the Dutchman lost his place in the first 11, as the Georgian Mamardashvili became the new Valencia keeper. In the end, Cillessen left the club in summer 2022, as he joined NEC, a mid-table Dutch side. Despite all that, he was still sure that he would make it into the Netherlands World Cup squad, so when Van Gaal told him that he was out, Jasper was so infuriated that he insulted the coach. At least, that's what rumors say. Asmir Begovic. While playing for Stoke City, Asmir Begovic made a name for himself as an elite Premier League keeper, dominant both in goal and in the air. In addition to all the saves he made, he once scored a goal. That was against Southampton in the 12-13 season. He kicked the ball from his own box and with the help of wind it went in, thus helping Begovic score one of the longest goals in the Premier League history. In summer 2015, Begovic was at last signed by a big club, that was Chelsea. But even though Petr Cech left the club, no one was willing to guarantee a first-choice keeper role for the 28-year-old Bosnian, as his competitor was none other than Thibaut Courtois. Luckily for Begovic though, the Belgian was first sent off and then injured, which offered Asmir a wonderful opportunity to prove himself. He was really good in his debut game against Man City. Even though Chelsea lost 3-0, it was the keeper who saved the Blues from a much more embarrassing defeat. But that season was probably the worst for Chelsea in the 21st century. The defense was too leaky and no keeper could have saved all the shots they were allowing. So Begovic did get a chance, but in the most unfortunate time, and once Courtois was back, the Bosnian got benched once again. The lack of playing time couldn't help but affect the keeper's form. For a year and a half, Asmir barely had a chance to play football. In the end, he left Chelsea after the golden 16-17 season and returned to Bournemouth, one of his former teams, but never returned to his former level, as his performance was only getting worse. In 2018, Asmir was loaned out to Karabakh, and after that there were more loan spells, but both at Milan and Everton, his current club, Begovic was no more than a backup goalkeeper. Simone Mignolet. The Belgian's career was on the rise in the early 2010s as he joined Sunderland at the age of 22 and got recognized as one of the best Premier League goalkeepers despite his young age and lack of experience, while his 30 clean sheets in 90 games made a great addition to his incredible saves. In summer 2013, his quality was noticed by Liverpool as the Scousers were in need of a new goalkeeper. Mignolet could never wish for a better start at Anfield. He saved a penalty and kept a clean sheet in his debut game against Stoke, which ended 1-0. Throughout the 13-14 season, Simone Mignolet was the most important part of Brendan Rodgers' side, which fell short of winning the Premier League only because of bad luck. But the following season was marked by a crisis that affected both the team and the goalkeeper. So before long, the Liverpool fans were fed up with Simone's poor goalkeeping as they wanted him sold as soon as possible. The Belgian's former consistency was nowhere to be found, as he was making foolish mistakes time after time. Things weren't that good in the national team either, as Thibaut Courtois, a goalkeeper of much higher status and quality, won the place in the first 11. In the 17-18 season, Mignolet was benched by Jurgen Klopp as well, and after the Champions League victory in 2019, he finally left Liverpool and moved to Club Brugge, the club he still plays for. Loris Karius. The one to replace Mignolet in goal was the German Loris Karius. He was playing under Jurgen Klopp's management from 2012 to 2016 at Mainz, and Jurgen seemed to be pleased with what he said, so he brought Karius to Anfield. It took him some time to get adapted to the new club, but in the end he was picked for the first 11 ahead of Mignolet. Though the German's consistency always caused questions, his saves and his overall level made up for that, as he was still young and was showing a lot of promise. But that very Champions League final against Real Madrid changed everything. A mistake from Karius cost Liverpool a goal, as he simply presented Benzema with a goal. After that, Gareth Bale scored a second goal, and yet Liverpool were determined to bounce back and keep fighting. But yet another goalkeeper's mistake made it all completely worthless. Loris Karius was unable to save quite an easy shot from Gareth Bale, so it went in off his gloves, making it 3-1. That one game pretty much ruined the German's whole career. He claimed to have suffered a brain concussion caused by the collision with Sergio Ramos, but nobody really cared about his excuses. That very summer, Karius was replaced with Alisson. The German had a number of loan spells at different clubs, but none of them helped him bring back his former confidence and quality. Last summer, he finally left Liverpool as his contract expired and signed for Newcastle as a free agent. Loris Karius played against Manchester United in the recent League Cup final, and unfortunately, that game was marked by yet another mistake. Even though the second one went in after a ricochet, the German should have done way better. So the game ended 2-0 in favor of Man United, while Karius suffered yet another defeat caused by his poor goalkeeping. Joe Hart. Joe Hart was signed by Man City from his local club Shrewsbury at the age of 19. It was 2006, when Man City were still shakeless. It took the young keeper a season on loan at two different lower league clubs to earn the coach's trust and get a chance in the Manchester City first team. It didn't last long though, as after an unconvincing spell in the 2007-8 season, he was replaced by Shay Given and was once again loaned out to Birmingham. There, Joe finally proved himself to be a world-class goalkeeper, so he returned to City at the end of the season as a new number one. Back in the early 2010s, Joe Hart was without a doubt among the best Premier League keepers. In 2012, the team, managed by Roberto Mancini, at last won the Premier League for the first time in 44 years, and Joe never stopped maintaining his high level until the 15-16 season, when both the players and the team's form had a drop. Joe Hart's career went downhill once Josep Guardiola was appointed manager at City. The 29-year-old Englishman's passing and pressing breaking skills were his weaknesses, while also being essential to Guardiola's football. So Joe was shown the door and moved to Torino on loan, and after that, in a year, joined West Ham, but found no success at any of these clubs, so his decline continued. In 2021, Joe Hart moved to the Scottish side Celtic, where he was at last allowed to play some football after warming the bench at Tottenham. Claudio Bravo. The one to be brought to Manchester City as a replacement for Joe Hart was the Chilean Claudio Bravo, as Josep Guardiola was a big fan of him. Claudio was first introduced to the wide audience as a Real Sociedad goalkeeper, and after 8 years at the club, he was signed by Barcelona in 2014. The Chilean had to compete with Marc-André ter Stegen for the place in the goal, but Barca's coaching staff did try to grant them both playing time, so Claudio played all the 38 La Liga games, while the German played in the Champions League and in Copa del Rey. At Barcelona, Bravo once again demonstrated his quality and proved himself to be a perfect modern goalkeeper. He won 2 La Liga titles, the Cup and the Champions League with Barca, but in the end, the Barca board decided to make Marc-André ter Stegen, the younger one, the first choice keeper, while Claudio, aged 33, was happy to join Guardiola at Manchester City. It looked like a perfect deal for both sides, but in reality Bravo failed to adapt to England and the Premier League and looked the odd one out whenever he played for City. His passing skills, so admired by Guardiola, seemed to have disappeared, and the way he was mindlessly rushing out was a nightmare for the City fans. His performance in goal was also way below par, as almost every single shot on goal was going in at some point. In the end, Guardiola gave up on Bravo and asked the board to sign Ederson. As for Claudio, he stayed until 2020 as a backup keeper and then moved to Betis, the club he's currently playing for at the age of 39. Kepa Arrizabalaga. Kepa Arrizabalaga was noticed by Real Madrid while he was playing for Athletic Bilbao from 2012 to 2018. Though Los Blancos were eager to sign Kepa, they ultimately changed their mind and went for Thibaut Courtois instead. In summer 2018, Thibaut moved to Madrid while Chelsea were left without a keeper. Ironically, it was Kepa to be their ultimate choice, as the Blues paid as much as 80 million euros for the Spaniard, thus making him the most expensive goalkeeper ever. Kepa's first season at Stamford Bridge was a decent one. Chelsea won the Europa League while Kepa was making eye-catching saves. Everyone expected the following season to be more of the same, but instead, Kepa made a huge step back. All these long-range goals he conceded and all the mistakes that led to a goal were the reason why Frank Lampard lost trust in Kepa and insisted on bringing a new keeper to the club. That was Edouard Mendy, who soon took Kepa's place in goal. The Spaniards still had a number of occasional opportunities, but obviously much more was expected from an 80 million goalkeeper. This season, Kepa has finally made it into the first 11 again, but only because of Mendy's poor form and injuries. Though Kepa has been playing a bit better than in the 2019-20 season, he's still conceding too many unnecessary goals. Two of them came not that long ago against Manchester City and Tottenham. Kepa's high price and his salary have been the reasons why Chelsea is yet to sell him, and the Blues are going to try to get rid of him once again this summer. Edouard Mendy. Another Chelsea keeper who hasn't been at his best lately is Edouard Mendy. The Senegalese keeper couldn't even imagine himself playing for such a big club back in 2015 when he was playing for a lower league French club Cherbourg and was even considering quitting football. He was just about to take up another job and give up on his football career when Marseille came for him, as they wanted Edouard Mendy to be their backup goalkeeper. Though he got no playing time at Marseille, the spell at the club allowed him to go on with his football career and sign for Reims a year later. There, Edouard spent 3 years before moving to a bigger club, Rennes, where he kept improving as the club qualified for the Champions League in 2020 for the first time in its history. That very summer, Mendy was signed by Chelsea all of a sudden. Though Edouard surely was a quality goalkeeper, he was already 28 years old and his stats weren't that impressive. That was why nobody expected him to join a top club. However, once Mendy moved to Chelsea, it became clear that he was there on merit. It didn't take him long to bench Kepa with his consistent goalkeeping, which helped the Blues win the Champions League at the end of that season. Edouard's second season at Chelsea had an even better start, as his goalkeeping was winning points for the Blues, while the Senegalese was in the top 3 Premier League goalkeepers in terms of saves percentage. But once the team started to struggle, Mendy's performance levels also dropped. The quarter-final tie against Real Madrid was a perfect demonstration of it. The Senegalese made a terrible mistake in the first leg, and then allowed almost every single shot to go in the second leg. This season's beginning was marked by further decline, and as a result the new manager Graham Potter had no option but to pick Kepa instead of Mendy, even though Kepa's form was far from perfect either. As for now, Mendy is still injured and he has already rejected a number of new contract offers from Chelsea. That makes us think that one of the Mendy-Kepa duo will leave the club in summer, and the Blues will be looking for a new goalkeeper. Jan Oblak. The Slovenian was signed from Benfica in 2015 as he was supposed to replace Thibaut Courtois at Atletico Madrid. Jan was only 22 years old, so it took him a lot of time to adapt to the new league and the club, almost a season. In the end, however, he won the place in the first 11, thus benching Miguel Angel Moya and became a crucial part of the team's impenetrable defense. All that mind-blowing saves make us speak of Jan Oblak as one of the best goalkeepers of that decade. And not to forget about the trophies he won with Atletico, the Supercopa, the Europa League and the UEFA Super Cup. In addition to the team trophies, he was awarded with the Zamora Trophy 5 times and was named the best Slovenian player 4 times. But past achievements mean nothing in football, as we're here to speak about Jan Oblak's decline. His save percentage, which was never above 77%, was as low as 50.8% last season, one of the worst numbers in the top 5 leagues. After the team conceded 10 goals less than they were expected to concede in the 2020-21 season, Oblak's mistakes cost Atletico the same 10 goals in the following La Liga campaign. As a result, after Jan Oblak was among top 2 goalkeepers in terms of clean sheets for 6 consecutive years, he was only 10th in the list of the Zamora Trophy contenders last season. There have been signs of improvement this season, as the Slovenian is currently 2nd in terms of clean sheets in La Liga once again, but his overall performance still leaves much to be desired. His save percentage of 75% is still the lowest, should we exclude that very season. But anyway, Jan Oblak is 30 years old, so he still has time to rediscover his form and once again show us what a world-class goalkeeper looks like. Every goalkeeper's career has its ups and downs. Many players lose confidence once they face criticism, as it takes power of will and incredible determination to overcome such difficulties and come back stronger. Dear friends, which one of the keepers we've just told you about still has a chance of redemption? Let us know in the comments if you expect any of them to get back to their former glory. See you soon.